Under the scorching sun, Baek Moo-young sat alone, sweat drenching his face. Suddenly, footsteps approached him. Opening his eyes, he glanced up, wondering if it was another dream. Hee-won, with grace, used a towel to wipe his brow. Baek Moo-young thought to himself, I don't want to see this pitiful expression again. Yet, he found solace in Hee-won's presence. Resting his head on Hee-won's shoulder like a child, he couldn't help but feel relieved that Hee-won had found him. Abruptly, the alarm blared incessantly. Tears welled up in the boy's eyes as he woke. Swiftly silencing the alarm, he pondered, I haven't experienced sleep difficulties in years. Does this signal misfortune today? Thankfully, Hee-won wasn't present. Otherwise, he would have caused unnecessary worry. Today marked the release of interview results. After splashing water on his face, he steeled himself to check. Moments later, he sat blankly at his desk, stifling yawns as he perused the results. The announcement read, Baek Moo-young's application to join Omega has been declined due to limited vacancies. He wasn't overly surprised. It was as he had anticipated. Another concern weighed heavily on him. Relying on Hee-won for living expenses was something he couldn't bear, even if it meant his demise. Just then, his phone rang. Moo-young picked it up, pausing to collect his thoughts before saying, Hello. On the other end, Hee-won inquired, Are you awake? Have you eaten yet? Don't hesitate to tell me. Moo-young responded with a simple, Yeah, I know. Hee-won pressed further. So, how did it go? Moo-young tersely replied, I failed. Hee-won pondered. Wasn't exercising during the interview a good idea? Moo-young sighed. Yeah, but I still failed. Meanwhile, a text message from Jin Yi-rim popped up, inviting him to the Jisan High School reunion. Amidst it all, Hee-won continued to vent frustrations, blaming the judges for their lack of insight. That message caught Moo-young off guard. Hee-won, sensing his surprise, anxiously asked, Is something wrong? Moo-young replied, Well, it's not just a spam message. Hee-won, in a cheerful tone, suggested, Let's buy some wine to drink when we get home. Moo-young agreed with a simple okay. Hee-won bid farewell before hanging up, saying, All right, I'll head home now. See you later. Reflecting on the text message from Yi-rim, Moo-young found himself immersed in deep contemplation. The prospect of attending a class reunion filled with individuals who looked down on others was nauseating to him. The mere thought of it stirred up a sense of revulsion. Those who were aware of their Omega status were turned upside down by such gatherings. Since that day, not a single school day passed without his uniform being marred. What terrified him the most were the bystanders, particularly Jin Yi-rim, who had spoken to him a few times. Why would she invite him to a class reunion? Deciding to relegate the message to spam, Moo-young turned his attention elsewhere. He sighed again in frustration. It was amusing how he hadn't received an email in such a long time. Outside, it was getting dark, and Hee-won was pressing the door password. As soon as he stepped inside, he quickly took off his shoes, causing a rustling sound. Moo-young, hearing the noise, answered the phone and glanced over. Oh yes, then I will come tomorrow, he said into the phone before whispering to Hee-won. I'm talking on the phone. Hee-won signaled his understanding with an okay sign. Moo-young thought to himself, He came back faster than I thought. While waiting for Moo-young, Hee-won went to take a shower. After a while, he slowly walked out. Moo-young saw him and gasped, Hee-won, why are you only wearing a towel? Hee-won gave a silly smile and replied, I forgot, sorry. Uncomfortably, Moo-young thought to himself, he always forgets. Then, he pushed Hee-won inside, urging him to stop joking around and hurry to get dressed while he set the table. Hee-won, still playful, turned around and jokingly asked if his service was good. Moo-young replied angrily, what are you talking about? Just go away quickly. However, amidst his annoyance, Moo-young couldn't help but steal a glance at Hee-won, his face turning red. It seemed like Hee-won's physique was improving. Dinner was well prepared, and Moo-young announced, I found a part-time job. Hee-won was surprised. asking why Mu Young suddenly decided to work part-time. "Are you feeling burdened because I helped you?" he questioned. Mu Young interrupted to explain, "I've been out of work for a few months, and I'm not a child anymore. I don't like being in debt." Sulkingly, Hee-won remarked, "I told you to come work with me. Your degree is so good." He always made things difficult for himself. Mu Young looked down and replied, "If I did that, I wouldn't be able to stand on my own 2 feet. Besides, it's not your responsibility to take care of my life." Suddenly, Hee-won leaned in close, whispering, "Are you capable of taking care of just me?" Confused, Mu Young pushed his face away and responded, "I told you I don't want to rely on the alpha." Hee-won asked cheerfully, "Isn't it better than being a poor omega?" Mu Young sighed, exasperated. "Ah, you're impossible to reason with." Hee-won smiled and apologized. "Sorry, you look so disgusted." Mu Young started to feel drunk and began to ramble, admitting that Hee-won could be quite annoying at times. As soon as he finished speaking, he staggered and fell into Hee-won's arms. Concerned, Hee-won shook him gently, asking, "Mu Young, are you drunk?" Mu Young mumbled in response. Hee-won carefully placed him on the sofa. Throughout the next day, Mu Young stood holding a glass of water and pills, preparing to take them. He dropped the pill into the water and muttered, "If you drink alcohol, you won't wake up the next day." He tried to rouse Hee-won, who was lying in bed yawning, urging him to wake up. "Even though it's the weekend, it's okay to sleep in. Wake up, have something to eat, then you can sleep again. It's already afternoon. I'll be heading to work soon, but I'll be back early in the morning." Hee-won reluctantly opened his eyes and warned, "Make sure to come back quickly. Don't linger." Mu Young nodded and replied, "I understand. See you later." Hee-won was left feeling frustrated and speechless. At the restaurant, Mu Young opened the door and walked in. A girl greeted him and invited him inside. Politely, he inquired, "Excuse me, is the owner here?" The same girl approached and responded, "I'm the owner here." "Ah, are you the one starting part-time work today?" He responded, "Yes, that's correct. I'm Park Mu Young." The owner then guided him and provided instructions. Mu Young thought that today was simply a day for learning the ropes. Inside, he changed into his work clothes. Upon entering, he greeted the staff, saying hello. One of the employees glanced away and remarked, "Ah, a new employee." Another person mentioned that he was an omega and complimented his appearance. Mu Young sighed and replied, "I've heard that a lot. Thank you for the compliment." However, when the employee continued to stare at him, Mu Young felt a sense of unease, wondering why the person was looking at him in such a strange manner. He inquired, "Hey, do you have a partner?" Mu Young responded firmly, "No." The other guy persisted, asking about his relationship status. Startled, Mu Young asked, "Why are you suddenly asking?" The employee then pointed to the back of Mu Young's head, mentioning a kiss mark there, suggesting an affectionate relationship. Mu Young hastily explained that it was probably just a bug bite. However, the other guy remained suspicious and instructed Mu Young to pack up and leave. Mu Young quickly complied, feeling uneasy about the situation. As he walked into the service area, he pondered his predicament. Since the workplace was mostly occupied by betas, he realized there wouldn't be too many issues related to his omega status. Overall, it seemed like a comfortable environment with few instances of discrimination. Speaking of which, that guy mentioned the mark on my neck. What if it's misunderstood? It's quite noticeable. Could it be from a mosquito? If this were my previous workplace, it might have led to harassment accusations. Outside, the owner called out to Mu Young for help in guiding the guests. He responded, "Of course." Meanwhile, his phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. "Hello, this is Jean Yi Rim. At the end of his shift, the owner smiled and commended him for his hard work on the first day, advising him to return safely. Mu Young replied with a nod, acknowledging that everyone faces similar challenges. As he walked back, he contemplated that he might continue working here for a while. His past jobs had been dreadful, with some co-workers behaving strangely. The first encounter was with a man who unexpectedly remarked, "Hey, are you wearing such a thin shirt on purpose?" That job didn't last long. I was fired for supposedly disturbing public order. Returning to reality after a grueling day at work, he lamented that his wrist felt like it was about to break. After reaching the apartment, he began ascending to his room. Slowly, he entered the apartment, expecting Kim Hee-won to be asleep. But suddenly, Hee-won appeared behind him, holding his bag, and asked, "Are you home?" Mu Young jumped in surprise, wondering why he was being awakened. Hee-won explained, "It's your first day at work, so I wanted to do something for you." Then, he took Mu Young's hand and led him back to the dining table, insisting that he eat before sleeping, knowing the first day of work must have been exhausting. Mu Young was touched by the boy's considerate gesture. Feeling embarrassed, Mu Young simply replied, "Thank you." Hee-won then inquired, "Did you take your medicine before going to work today?" Mu Young assured him, "Of course, the doctor prescribed expensive inhibitors. How could I forget?" Changing the subject, he mentioned receiving an invitation to a class reunion. Hee-won rolled her eyes at the mention of high school. Mu Young responded with a simple, Observing his reaction, Hee-won scoffed, "They were all shameless people. If you don't know who it is, don't answer." Mu Young then shared the news of his new job, expressing relief that this time he had found a suitable job without harassment. Hee-won expressed happiness for him, acknowledging the luck in finding such a job. However, he reminded Mu Young, "But it's not like you're going to work there for the rest of your life. If you pair with an alpha, the symptoms of excessive pheromones will also disappear, so it's better to pair with me. How about that?" Mu Young suddenly thought to himself, recalling high school when he was rejected once and never asked again. Hee-won continued, remarking that Mu Young didn't exhibit many symptoms of being in love, implying that perhaps all he needed was to have sex once. Mu Young blushed and exclaimed, "Kim Hee-won, even if you treat me like an omega, it's not okay. I already owe you too much. I don't want any more. You don't have a girlfriend because you live with me. If I work part-time and save money, I'll move out. You need to live your life too." Hearing these words, Hee-won could only look down and quietly acknowledge, "That's right." After a while of drinking, Mu Young fell asleep on the table. That night, on his way home from work, Mu Young pondered over yesterday's suggestion. He wondered if pairing up as suggested would alleviate the symptoms of excessive pheromones. Am I being stubborn for no reason? Lost in thought, he walked slowly. Suddenly, a noise made him turn his head to look, but seeing no movement, he continued on the deserted road. Why did it feel like someone was following him? Perhaps it was just exhaustion from the past few days. Unbeknownst to him, a man watched from behind. The observer made a mental note to call and report back the next day, noting that Mu Young seemed more alert lately. The following day at the restaurant, a customer grabbed an employee's hand and demanded to place an order. The employee politely asked, "Yes, what would you like?" Suddenly, the guest shouted, startling him, Hey, this kid is so cute. Omega, stop standing there and come sit and have a drink with us." Mu Young stepped forward to stand in front of the employee and asked the customer to stop. "You need to handle your estrus yourself. Don't bother others." One of them retorted, "Hey, why are you talking like that to customers? I just wanted to be friendly, but you're so touchy." He took out his phone and said, I have no intention of getting close to you guys, so please leave. If you want to talk to the police, go ahead and sit down. They got up and left, cursing as they went. Damn it, we're leaving. The service here sucks. Moo Young muttered under his breath. You guys are garbage. Where do people like you come from? Then he turned to ask the other employee if he was okay. The other employee looked up and replied, Oh yes, thank you. He also told me to go inside and rest for a bit. The other boy nodded in agreement. Moo Young's mind was preoccupied with other thoughts. Since starting the part-time job, he and Hee-won saw each other less often, putting him in a melancholic mood. The boss had mentioned leaving work early today, giving him hope of seeing her. At 12:13, the manager hurriedly announced, Hey, there's more work than I anticipated. It's been tough with just 2 people at the shop today. Let's wrap up quickly. Moo Young requested to leave first. The owner reminded him to be careful on his way home. Walking alone again, he couldn't shake off the cold feeling of the day. He knew Hee-won disliked cold weather. Coincidentally, on his way back, he encountered the same guests he had confronted earlier in the morning. One tall guy blocked his path and called out, Hey, it's him, the Omega kid from that shop earlier. The others chimed in, confirming his identity. One of them turned to the tall guy and asked, Are you sure? The pheromone smell is making my nose sting. The other guy suggested, If you feel a reaction, just massage it gently. Moo Young exerted his strength to stop him, exclaiming, You crazy guys, let go. These individuals were alphas, and Moo Young wondered how they anticipated his route. Pushing those thoughts aside, he focused on the immediate need to escape. With resolve, he landed a punch on the cheek of one of the assailants. However, the other guy retaliated fiercely, delivering a painful blow to Moo Young's face. No, we have to restrain him, he insisted, panting heavily as he grappled with Moo Young. Moo Young realized this was a far cry from his school days. The burly man pinned his arms behind his back while the other subdued him with a towel over his mouth, mocking him. He used to study martial arts, but it's useless for you to resist. So shut up, princess. Moo Young endured their brutal treatment until suddenly, someone intervened, and the next morning, while having breakfast, Moo Young was lost in thought. So he marked me, but I don't feel any different from usual, he mused. The events of the previous day left him with little time to process everything. Hee-won had dealt with those troublesome individuals, and even left a note of advice for Moo Young. Reflecting on it all, Moo Young realized that he couldn't handle everything alone. Since we're mated, shouldn't the pheromones calm down? He pondered. But why do I feel so drained? He considered Hee-won's advice, realizing that perhaps he should stop being stubborn and just listen. Then, his thoughts turned to Jin Yi-rim's messages, which left him feeling extremely confused. Why does it have to be this complicated? He wondered. What should I do? Despite his inclination to avoid the situation, something compelled him to open Yi-rim's message. As he read it, Yi-rim hinted at a secret about Kim Hee-won, plunging Moo Young into deeper contemplation. The phone rang, and the voice on the other end addressed Moo Young. Hello? Is this Moo Young? Meanwhile, in Hee-won's office, he received updates from his informant, who was meeting a girl for the first time. He couldn't catch the conversation clearly. Hee-won instructed, Today, focus on investigating who that woman is for me, and let's meet tomorrow in front of the house. His mind wandered to other thoughts. In a quaint cafe, Yi-rim addressed Moo Young. You must feel quite inconvenienced. Thank you for meeting me. Moo Young responded straightforwardly. What did you want to say about Kim Hee-won? I mentioned earlier that if it's something trivial, I'll leave immediately. Yi-rim said, I understand. Let me get straight to the point. Do you recall when you were being harassed, and I intervened once? Continuing, she explained. Afterward, he contacted me to meet, and that's when I realized he was the mastermind. He's handsome, kind, and renowned, like the noble protagonist in a comic book. So when he invited me to meet, I had no suspicions. Recollecting the past encounter, she recounted. During that meeting, Hee-won remarked, Don't you feel sorry for jeopardizing your life due to your naive sense of justice? It's not your responsibility. You could simply ignore it. They're all the same. However, Mu Young adamantly rejected the notion, insisting, "It's impossible. Kim Hee-won can't be like that. Despite not being in the same grade, he's the only one who has ever helped me." Rim proposed a theory urging, "Ponder this carefully. Doesn't it strike you as odd? Regardless of your closeness, isn't it peculiar that he always manages to find and rescue a senior 2 years older than him at just the right moment?" She questioned the normalcy of such occurrences. Mu Young began to recollect the events, recalling, "Speaking of yesterday, how he found me." Rim continued, "Initially, I thought Kim Hee-won truly despised you, but every time he comforted you. Even now, I still don't comprehend why he was so attached to you and acted in such a manner." Mu Young's hands trembled as he uttered, "It's inconceivable." Reflecting on the past, he questioned, "You mentioned that during that time, you were afraid of Kim Hee-won, so you remained silent, right? Then why, after several years of graduation, are you suddenly disclosing this to me?" Rim responded, "There are numerous reasons, but I'll mention the most plausible one. It was after the company I was working for posted a job advertisement. An acquaintance of mine interviewed me and mentioned something peculiar." She continued, "An Omega with remarkable qualifications resembling those of a registered Alpha," her friend recounted. "Yet they instructed him to fail. However, the most astonishing revelation is that individual. His name is Baek Mu Young, and his test results indicated Alpha." Upon hearing this revelation, Mu Young halted in his tracks. Rim's conviction was palpable, and regardless of his personal beliefs, the only person capable of such actions seemed to be Kim Hee-won. Though it was mere speculation, if proven true, it would constitute a serious offense. Mu Young couldn't simply turn a blind eye to it, hence his resolve. In that moment, Mu Young became introspective, repeatedly murmuring, "I am the Alpha, after all." Sensing his distress, Rim nervously reached out to him and inquired, "Mu Young, are you okay?" He stood up, gazing down, and uttered, "I'll go first." Despite Rim persistently calling his name, Mu Young departed with a myriad of questions swirling in his mind. Reflecting on his experiences, he pondered over the incidents that had transpired. Comparing his situation to that of other Omegas, he realized that while those individuals only harassed him, he had blamed himself for it. Questions plagued his mind. When did Hee-won conceal this from him? Why did Hee-won wear a smile at that time? Mu Young grappled with conflicting emotions, resenting the doubt he harbored toward Hee-won, as it left him with a profound sense of emptiness. Hesitating at the door for a prolonged moment, Mu Young contemplated his next course of action. Then he slowly stepped inside. Hee-won was seated in a corner, gazing out the window. Upon seeing Mu Young, he quickly spoke up, "I'll be home later than you expected. I've been contemplating things." Mu Young called out his name, "Kim Hee-won." Without giving Mu Young a chance to speak, Hee-won hastily confessed, "Even if you try to justify it as her lying, she's just a stalker. I'm Kim Hee-won, and I've always understood you best. I won't ignore it and pretend like nothing happened." Mu Young seized his collar and shouted, "Kim Hee-won, why did you do this to me? Even though I care about you so much, why are you deliberately toying with me? Say something." Unable to control his emotions, he delivered a hard punch to Hee-won's cheek. "You finally told me what's going on. I'll make you pay for it." Then, without hesitation, he struck Hee-won. "I'll kill you. Why aren't you fighting back?" He began to tremble, then broke down in tears. "You're driving me crazy. What's the truth about my past? Please tell me." Despite Mu Young's outburst, Hee-won continued to smile and asked, "Are you feeling less angry now? It's exhausting to keep everything inside." Mu Young was taken aback. "What?" Hee-won reached out and embraced Mu Young. "Since we're here now, why don't we find a peaceful resolution? I've been gentle with you because I care about you deeply. And now that I've confessed my feelings, I'm truly happy. I'll show you just how much I love you from now on." staring blankly out the window. He muttered to himself, his entire body aching. Even if he tried to fight back, he knew he couldn't win. Attempting to escape was futile since Hee-won wouldn't let him go. In this situation, Moo-young felt like his life was a lie, leaving him no different from being dead. He questioned Hee-won, asking if he ever felt any hesitation when confessing his feelings. Hee-won approached and gently touched Moo-young's hair, startling him. He calmly stated that Moo-young was enduring this because he wanted Moo-young to reciprocate his feelings. He suggested that enduring it until they both knew they loved each other was worth the effort. This angered Moo-young, and he shouted in frustration. He didn't want this kind of twisted and disgusting love. He wanted control over his life and to live according to his own wishes. Hee-won grabbed Moo-young's collar and pulled him up, his eyes dark with warning. He warned Moo-young that he wasn't in the mood for such words, and they could lead to consequences. He even hinted at the possibility of cutting off Moo-young's tongue if he continued. Moo-young stood frozen, shocked by Hee-won's sudden change in demeanor. However, Hee-won quickly shifted his tone, embracing Moo-young and remarking humorously that Moo-young still desired to kiss him despite the situation. He reassured Moo-young that disagreements were normal in a... These were Hee-won's thoughts when he first laid eyes on Moo-young. He was inclined towards superstition, often dreaming of a destined love, perfectly timed and involving someone who didn't know him very well. In his imagination, the scene was set amidst cherry blossoms in full bloom, where the silence enveloped them as if they were the only two people in the world. To Hee-won, everything seemed like the beginning of a well-crafted novel, where others' opinions didn't matter as he orchestrated the destiny of the drama according to his vision. Hee-won reminisced about how he approached Moo-young. He hoped that this time, the subject would pose a bit more of a challenge. Moo-young glanced at him and offered a compliment, remarking on his physique resembling that of a 10th grader, expressing envy as Moo-young himself was in 12th grade. Hee-won acknowledged this observation and responded politely, confirming his senior status as Kim Hee-won and introducing himself as Baek Moo-young. Hee-won silently resolved to remain sincere with Moo-young until the end. On that day, as they stood in the hallway, another student reprimanded Moo-young, calling him an idiot and warning him to pay attention ahead to avoid causing trouble. Realizing later that the person he had collided with was on the ground. Concerned, Moo-young asked if the person was all right and offered to accompany them to the infirmary, apologizing for the incident. Hee-won blushed slightly at Moo-young's kindness and agreed, also asking if Moo-young remembered him. After helping the person stand up, Moo-young hummed an apology and continued, "Your memory is very bad. What's your name?" At that moment, Hee-won's heart raced with excitement. This was precisely what he had hoped for to see. Moo-young reminded Hee-won, "Hey, you asked him to teach you more. Stop looking at him. Look at the book." Innocently, Hee-won denied it, asking if it was true. Then, changing the subject, he inquired about Moo-young's favorite color. Sensing there was something unusual about Moo-young, but still willing to play along, he agreed to focus on it after Moo-young revealed his preference. Moo-young answered red. The following day, Hee-won wore a red accessory. When questioned by friends about the change from his usual blue, he replied, "Isn't it beautiful? Moo-young likes it a lot." As Hee-won saw Moo-young walking by with his friends, he gazed at him intently, touching his red earring and whispering, "Yes, I really like it." Gossip began to circulate among the people nearby, speculating about Hee-won's recent behavior. Some remarked on how difficult he had become to meet lately, while others mentioned his frequent interactions with a senior named Baek Moo-young, whom he had been tutoring. There were murmurs about Moo-young's academic performance, with some expressing disbelief that he could achieve high scores without Hee-won's help. Hee-won's expression turned smug and proud as he realized that Moo-young had only half a year left until graduation, and to him, Moo-young was just a passing acquaintance. Restless and helpless, Moo-young felt like a failure for the first time in his life, a feeling unintentionally caused by Hee-won. Observing the figure slumped over the table, whimpering, he thought to himself, "I haven't seen him all day, so he must be here." Hee-won gently touched his shoulder and inquired, "Mr. Moo-young, are you okay?" Moo-young, startled, looked up and questioned why Hee-won was there instead of attending class. Taking Moo-young's hand, Hee-won insisted on taking him home. Mu-young, taken aback, asked for clarification. Hee-won explained that Mu-young would be alone otherwise, given his wealthy family and ample pocket money, and because it was Mu-young, he cared. Seeing Hee-won's embarrassed face, Mu-young thanked him, expressing surprise at his level of concern and acknowledging him as a good friend. Hee-won felt a pang of surprise as he contemplated the complexity of the situation. There were so many aspects to consider, making it challenging to keep track of everything. Hee-won's lips curved slightly as he assured Mu-young that he could visit any time. Deep down, he knew that in moments of distress on his way to school, Hee-won was approached by a group of friends inquiring about Baek Mu-young's absence. "Hey Kim Hee-won, why hasn't Baek Mu-young been coming to school lately? I heard there was an accident at home. Is that true?" Their words resonated within Hee-won, acknowledging how accumulating hardships could drive even the most resilient individuals to their breaking point. As more people began to question him, Hee-won found himself confronted with rumors about Mu-young's alleged involvement in a violent incident. "Hey Kim Hee-won, have you heard the news about the guy you're close to? I heard he's been absent from school because he put a friend in the hospital." Despite his disbelief, Hee-won was aware of the tendency for people to conceal their true nature behind a facade of friendliness, leading to deceitful actions behind closed doors. The students affirming the rumors claimed they heard it from 12th graders, insisting on the credibility of their sources. However, Hee-won couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of their gossip. He compared the spread of rumors to the scattering of crumbs, spreading like pigeons without any basis in truth. Yet no one seemed to care about the real story behind Mu-young's situation. To Hee-won, these were just idle chatter from people seeking entertainment. Suddenly, a student approached and informed Hee-won that the teacher was calling for him. He received a piece of paper from the teacher, which contained Baek Mu-young's test results. The teacher entrusted the document to Hee-won, requesting him to offer comfort during Mu-young's challenging times. The paper detailed Mu-young's personal information and, significantly, revealed that his test result indicated he was an alpha. The teacher also conveyed his appreciation to Hee-won's father. Hee-won smiled knowingly and responded, indicating that his father would be in touch with the teacher later regarding a matter related to the test results, hence the need for the document. He swiftly disposed of the paper in a nearby trash can, his expression fierce and determined. In a secluded corridor, he made a call to someone, requesting a favor. Upon arriving home, Hee-won found his mother waiting for him. Ensuring that Mu-young would never discover his alpha status was paramount. Hee-won expressed satisfaction at this assurance, acknowledging his mother's reliability. His mother, with a stern expression, asked him directly if he had feelings for Mu-young. Hee-won replied with genuine happiness, admitting that he did, perhaps for the first time. His mother's demeanor remained unchanged as she remarked on the nature of love, likening it to something to be held in one's hands and locked away in one's heart. She affirmed her role in preserving his father's innocence and happiness. Hee-won glanced over and complimented his mother, remarking how cool she was. She responded by telling him he was fortunate to take after her. Then, she handed him a white bag, explaining that it contained medicine to transition into an omega, which he would receive regularly from the doctor. Hee-won inquired about potential side effects, to which she confirmed there were some, such as difficulty waking up after consuming alcohol, due to the changes in physical condition and the body becoming weaker than normal alphas. Observing Hee-won's silence, Hee-won's next reaction was one of excitement as he smiled and replied, "No, simply because he liked it." Hee-won handed Mu-young a piece of paper, explaining that it contained the results of the last school test. Due to being preoccupied with the funeral, Mu-young couldn't attend school, so Hee-won obtained the results on his behalf. Mu-young accepted it, assuming it would likely show he's just a beta. However, to his surprise, the paper revealed that he was an omega. Confused, Mu-young questioned if Hee-won was joking. Hee-won responded seriously, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. Disheartened, Mu-young expressed his frustration, feeling overwhelmed by the challenges ahead as an omega. He lamented about his inability to live independently and how difficult it would be to find employment. Helplessly, he exclaimed his frustration, wondering why such things only seemed to happen to him and expressing a desire to trade places with Hee-won. In that moment, Hee-won embraced him directly, offering comfort and solace. Moo-young also regained his composure and apologized to Hee-won, acknowledging that Hee-won's emotional outburst was unusual and concerning. Hee-won reassured Moo-young, expressing gratitude for his understanding and unwavering support. However, behind Hee-won's reassuring demeanor, a sinister smile lingered. As Hee-won woke up from the dream, he slowly opened his eyes, recalling the imagery of Moo-young and reflecting on the almost perfect conclusion their relationship seemed to have in the dream. He pondered over the archetypal roles they played in each other's lives, the lonely yet resilient protagonist and the devoted lover who served as the protagonist's sole savior. However, Hee-won couldn't shake off the nagging realization that there might be a hidden truth lurking beneath the surface. He silently called his mother, consumed by self-blame and acknowledging his failure to maintain the facade. As Hee-won reflected on the situation, he couldn't bring himself to discard the broken game. Unsatisfied and recognizing that abandoning Moo-young would lead to dire consequences, Hee-won revealed a dark and sinister side. He contemplated that there seemed to be no alternative at this point. Covering his face, he self-blamed, expressing a desire for a perfect future with Moo-young. A sudden realization hit Hee-won as he questioned when he started perceiving Moo-young's feelings as mere pity. He wondered about the removal of the script and why the fear of its rupture gripped him. In a moment of self-awareness, he acknowledged that the problem lay within himself. Dismissing these futile emotions, Hee-won approached the bed where Moo-young lay, silently resolving to embark on a second scenario. He resigned himself to waiting for Moo-young indefinitely, believing it to be a simple task with a long journey ahead. Hee-won gazed at Moo-young and murmured to himself, "Moo-young, you thought it was over, didn't you? You were mistaken. It's merely a challenge we must endure. I won't allow it to end." Turning Moo-young around, he placed a tender kiss on his cheek and expressed his determination to ensure their happiness together, emphasizing that he had no intention of letting go. Hee-won then gently caressed Moo-young's exposed thigh, followed by planting kisses on his legs, expressing his fondness for watching Moo-young in motion. Suddenly, he bit Moo-young's leg with force, but Moo-young merely groaned and remained asleep. Hee-won felt a tinge of regret, realizing that he might never see Moo-young again. As time passed, Moo-young eventually woke up and found himself alone in the room. He noticed Hee-won's absence and lamented the fact that he was no longer by his side upon waking up. Feeling despondent, Moo-young contemplated the possibility of never seeing Hee-won again if he were to escape from the situation. In the next moment, Moo-young shook his head and reminded himself, "Stay calm. Remember what he did to you. I need to act quickly." However, as he attempted to get out of bed, he suddenly collapsed to the floor, realizing with horror that he couldn't feel his legs. They hung limply, devoid of sensation. Hee-won entered the room, appearing curious rather than searching for him. Moo-young, surprised, questioned why Hee-won hadn't left and, more importantly, what he had done to his legs. Hee-won smirked knowingly and explained that he anticipated Moo-young's attempts to escape, so he took preemptive action. He added that now it would be challenging for Moo-young to live independently, implying that they would live happily together in this place forever, free from worries. He professed his love for Moo-young. Left with no other recourse, Moo-young could only shed tears of helplessness and curse Hee-won as being in. The scene between Moo-young and Hee-won appeared intimately close, with Hee-won holding Moo-young's shoulder and a bouquet of fresh flowers in hand, while Moo-young seemed slightly shy. The continuous clicking sound indicated that the captured moment had been framed and displayed as a decorative piece in the house. Meanwhile, the rustling noise came from someone washing dishes nearby. Moo-young remained focused on his work until a figure approached from behind and greeted him with a good morning. Turning to see Hee-won, Moo-young mentioned that he had intended to wake him up as well, to which Hee-won smiled regretfully, acknowledging that he had overslept. He noted that Moo-young had been waking up early lately. Leaning closer to Moo-young, Hee-won suggested that Moo-young needn't concern himself with such tasks. Placing a pill on Moo-young's shoulder as a reminder for him to take his medicine, Hee-won gently insisted, but Moo-young objected, stating that he also needed to contribute and that he could handle it. Moo Young explained that he was occupied with washing dishes, so Hee-won took the initiative to feed him. Reflecting on his situation, Moo Young expressed his uncertainty about his identity, stating that he truly didn't know who he was anymore. Hee-won acknowledged his feelings and helped him finish taking his medicine. With a cigarette in his mouth, Moo Young mumbled incomprehensibly, clearly distressed. Hee-won remarked teasingly, "Oh, you're back to being sharp again." He then informed Moo Young that he would be returning home a bit later starting from that day until Christmas Day. Confused, Moo Young asked why, prompting Hee-won to explain that it was unavoidable due to work commitments, but reassured Moo Young that they would spend all of Christmas Day together. Moo Young responded with a non-committal hum, inwardly sympathizing with Hee-won's likely visit his parents while making excuses about being busy with work. Observing Hee-won thoughtfully for a moment, Moo Young couldn't help but agree when someone remarked that they looked like a married couple. Upon hearing the remark, Moo Young's face flushed red. Internally, he urged himself to remain calm and not to act strangely. Observing Moo Young's reddened face, Hee-won couldn't help but laugh. Moo Young, trying to maintain composure, thought, "Why is he laughing? Just wait until I finish washing the dishes." Hee-won continued to chuckle and teased Moo Young, remarking that he still wasn't used to it. Slightly sulking, Moo Young scolded Hee-won, saying, "You really?" Yet, he silently blamed himself, feeling his heart sink. Suddenly, Moo Young playfully used his wet dishwashing gloves to pat Hee-won's face. Surprisingly, Hee-won didn't get upset. Instead, he smiled and commented that now Moo Young would have to wash his face again. Moo Young jokingly retorted, "That's karma. This guy." The two of them shared a light-hearted moment together. Walking along the bustling shopping street, Moo Young reflected on how, despite his graduation, he still felt inadequate in organizing events like this one. He realized that without Hee-won's support, he wouldn't be able to recover as he had. As he reached out to select a vibrant red Christmas decoration ball, he paused, suddenly recalling the past 3 years since his parents' passing, during which Hee-won had been exceptionally supportive. Despite living together, Moo Young had never done anything special for Hee-won in return. Determined to change that, he resolved to surprise Hee-won this Christmas. His phone rang, and it was Hee-won calling. Moo Young answered, explaining that he was out and about to break the monotony of being at home, reassuring Hee-won that he wasn't drinking alcohol. As he spoke, his attention was drawn to 2 scarves, one red and one blue. Moo Young then asked about Hee-won's progress as an apprentice, momentarily forgetting that their Kim Hee-won couldn't excel in such tasks, but then quickly corrected himself. Then he asked again, "Hee-won, what color do you like?" After shopping, Moo Young returned home to decorate the Christmas tree for Christmas Eve. As he gazed up at the towering tree in his house, he reassured himself that Hee-won would appreciate it, knowing how sentimental he was, despite being a wealthy individual. Moo Young glanced at the small gift box nearby, contemplating whether living happily like this was sufficient. He realized that unhappiness was an inevitable part of life, which made him even more apprehensive. Despite experiencing happiness, he feared the possibility of unforeseen misfortunes. Recalling past experiences of helplessness, Moo Young's hands clenched tightly as he resolved to be stronger. He reminded himself that he needed to be resilient, capable of overcoming any challenges that life threw his way. Moo Young cherished the thought of being by Hee-won's side indefinitely, never wanting to lose him. His mind filled with images of Hee-won's graceful presence, prompting an unconscious smile to spread across his face. Suddenly, overcome with excitement, Moo Young leapt to his feet and called out, "Kim Hee-won, you won't believe how much I'm looking forward to it. Don't be surprised if you cry tears of joy." Meanwhile, Hee-won sat conversing with his parents. He explained that while they saw each other 3 times a week, spending time together on a special day like Christmas held a unique significance. However, his mother reproached him for his absence, insisting that after allowing him to pursue his interests for 2 years, he should prioritize family gatherings on Christmas. His father echoed her sentiments, expressing concern for their son's well-being and the importance of spending time together as a family during the holidays. Proudly, His mother declared that she and her husband cherished their own private world, implying that they were content with their current situation. Hee-won's father chuckled and jokingly asked, "What's been keeping you so busy lately that we hardly see you?" It was at that moment that Hee-won realized his mother hadn't yet informed his father about Moo-young. He quickly fabricated a reason, mentioning that he would turn 21 in January and felt the need to gain more life experience alongside his studies, preferring not to be labeled as a mere genius. He emphasized that those without foresight wouldn't carry umbrellas. His father, brimming with excitement and support, inquired about Hee-won's love life, assuming he already had someone special. However, his wife interjected, stating that at his age, marriage wasn't on the immediate horizon, asserting that Hee-won was the type to marry after turning 30. This brought a hint of disappointment to his father's face, prompting him to ask, "Is that so?" Hee-won graciously acknowledged his parents' understanding and thanked them for being so perceptive. Despite his mother's confusion, Hee-won's father beamed with pride, recognizing his son's maturity and ability to charm even his mother. He pondered aloud about the type of person who could capture the heart of someone as perfect as Hee-won. With a playful tone, Hee-won feigned innocence, mentioning plans for a party with friends that might run late. His father seemed taken aback, asking for confirmation, while his mother, though suggesting a leisurely approach, looked at her husband with a hint of regret. Glancing up at the ticking clock, Hee-won pondered to himself that his mother would likely keep him until she was satisfied, while his father would probably continue questioning him endlessly. Can't be helped, he thought resignedly. Then, the two parents suggested that the family should schedule another round of family photos in February. Hee-won absent-mindedly agreed, his thoughts still lingering on the person waiting at home. Considering that he arrived home late, Moo-young must have already fallen asleep. Moo-young responded in a melancholic tone, expressing his desire to be alone. Hee-won, however, straightforwardly called him out for lying. He noted that Moo-young didn't offer sympathy or try to cheer him up when he was tired. Instead, he found solace in being left alone. Despite the tears of reproach in Moo-young's eyes, Hee-won hugged him and gently remarked that he seemed a bit more sincere now. Moo-young could sense genuine concern from Hee-won's actions. Hee-won suggested they go buy cake, attempting to lighten the mood. Back on Christmas Eve, Moo-young gazed at the cake and reflected on the sight of couples in love everywhere he went. As he unconsciously brushed his finger against Hee-won's hand, Moo-young suddenly stiffened, feeling like he had turned to stone. He awkwardly explained that since they were surrounded by couples, he tried to make a light-hearted joke. Hee-won responded with an expressionless face, seemingly taking Moo-young's joke seriously. Feeling increasingly flustered, Moo-young urged Hee-won not to be so serious and reassured him that it was just a joke. Internally, Moo-young felt his heart in chaos, wondering why he had made such a remark and feeling like he was losing his mind. To ease his embarrassment, Moo-young decided to continue walking and urged Hee-won to hurry up. However, Hee-won persisted and surprised Moo-young by hugging him from behind, commenting on how much Moo-young had grown and teasing him playfully. As they walked together, they attracted admiring glances from passers-by, who observed their passionate display of affection. Reflecting on their relationship, Moo-young acknowledged that Hee-won's frequent displays of affection had become a habit between them, leading to moments of hand-holding and other silly antics. Despite this, Moo-young recognized the comfort and support that Hee-won consistently provided, especially during times of insecurity or loneliness. It was these gestures that made Moo-young realize his feelings for Hee-won. The two of them had also taken pictures together wearing Santa Claus and reindeer costumes. Although the costumes were cute and romantic, Moo-young couldn't help but feel that something was off about the necklace. When he mentioned it, Hee-won immediately denied any issue with it. Reflecting on the present moment, Moo-young realized that sometimes he had peculiar tastes, even enjoying the small quirks of their relationship. Despite this, he couldn't shake the feeling of longing for Hee-won's return. Moo-young shyly hoped that Hee-won would return slowly because he feared that if they were to meet now, he might act strangely. Drifting off to sleep, Moo-young entered a unique dream, a love dream featuring intense workouts shared between. After being startled awake by Hee-won's state of confusion in his dream, and now he worried about the possibility of waking up in such an embarrassing situation. However, and he quickly snapped out of his dreamy daze. As Moo-young regained his senses, he realized there was still drool on his mouth. Hee-won teasingly remarked on it, suggesting that Moo-young must have had quite a pleasant dream. Moo-young hastily wiped it away, feeling a surge of embarrassment and silently wishing he could disappear. Meanwhile, Hee-won continued to rummage around for something, explaining that he had wanted to call Moo-young earlier but hadn't sent a message, resulting in his delayed return home. However, upon arriving, he was pleasantly surprised to find that Moo-young had prepared everything. Impressed by Moo-young's efforts, Hee-won praised him, causing Moo-young to blush and modestly acknowledge that he had tried his best. Hee-won expressed his gratitude to Moo-young, acknowledging how happy he felt. He then presented Moo-young with a red scarf, admitting that this year's gift was rather simple. Moo-young looked at the scarf in surprise, exclaiming, "A scarf!" Suddenly, Moo-young jumped up and dashed away, leaving Hee-won bewildered as he asked where Moo-young was going. Moo-young returned shortly after, holding out a gift box of his own. He explained that he, too, had prepared a gift. Opening the box, he revealed another scarf and marveled at how their gifts matched. With a smile, Moo-young draped the scarf around Hee-won's neck. Hee-won, slightly taken aback, asked if Moo-young had asked about his preference for this reason. Moo-young admitted that he had tried to guess, but ultimately wasn't sure what color Hee-won liked. However, he apologized, sensing that Hee-won might be disappointed. Instead of disappointment, Hee-won burst into laughter, surprising Moo-young. Feeling bashful, Moo-young asked if his gesture was too cheesy. Hee-won reassured him, explaining that his laughter stemmed from feeling happier than expected. Hee-won also draped a red scarf around Moo-young's neck and greeted him with a heartfelt, "Merry Christmas." Moo-young looked at Hee-won with deep emotion and exclaimed, "It feels so warm." Celebrating that Christmas day became a cherished memory for Moo-young. However, once he discovered the true nature of the person he cared for, he couldn't help but blame himself whenever he recalled that moment. He wished he could stay awake and avoid reliving those memories, but despite knowing the truth, he found himself unable to resist reminiscing. Even now, Moo-young finds himself enduring torment in Hee-won's bed, unable to escape. The dream of a joyful Christmas night is overshadowed by the harsh reality he